Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ τον κύριο Κούντζε.
Thank you, Mr. Kunze, for this very interesting presentation. As regards the prospects of Greece to become a green hub for the area, and let's now go to give the floor to the aggregators. Let's start with Mr. Margaris from ADMIE. The projects of ADMIE are going to create space that covers 2 gigawatts. It covers the targets. Is there any point of synchronization with, coordination of this with the investors? Thank you very much for the invitation this year as well. As you very well say, indeed, the 10-year development program that is going on sees that until 2030 we will have created the space in order to cover more than the target. But which are these targets? We have to know them. We follow the discussions in the market, and we follow your conference, and we can say that today in Greece we have approximately 11 megawatts of RES, considering the hydroelectric, the big plants. They are 3.4. So it means that we have RES 8 gigawatts in the country. The target for 2030 is to have approximately 19 gigawatts instead of 11, thus to add 8 RES gigawatts. Obviously, as you correctly say, this 10-year program considers for the grid a lot of parameters, short-term and long-term, as for example load, stability of the grid, etc. And it is a fact that these dimensions, namely the investment's interest in RES that select projects based on the capacity or the price of land, is an objective that they cannot go hand by hand all the time. So it is important to see how we can, as we discussed last year, we can have tenders with a geographical criteria. To be sincere then, though, at the moment, the rate of annual expansion and the applications to enter the grid is so high that we can't get a snapshot of what happens today and say that that's the situation in every local town or region. Number 2, until 2030 as a country we need to add 8 gigawatts, as we said, and let's say that we could reach 9 or 10 if the target is reviewed. The last 1 year in ADMIE we had 8.6 RES applications in the system. Of course, we're not going to get all of this, but this shows that within 1 year we had demand for the full target of 2030. So the market seems ready to implement it. Already the market has 4.5 gigawatts in connections. So 4.5 from the 9 that we need until 2030. These are under development now. So the question is, or the issue is, to finish the implementation of these projects because we have valuable resources, we cannot commit them. And I can say that it is positive that the rate of the expansion of the market is very positive. It's too good, but it is true. This, of course, doesn't mean that the concern of the investors is unreal. Obviously, we're doing whatever we can, expanding the system, and the market knows our investment scheme in historical areas like Peloponnese, etc., or the islands that need the interconnection, etc., and our remaining systems. Or how can we improve the rates to respond to the market for access to the system, decreasing bureaucratic administration. For the moment, technically, as an administration, we want to control that the project to be connected on the grid will be reliably operating. It's not to us to know that the legislating documents, etc., are as they should be. There is a discussion now ongoing with the ministry to minimize the folders and dossiers that have to be moved around so as to increase to accelerate this whole procedure. But nevertheless, even through the pandemic, we gave 160 connection offers, which is 2.5 gigawatts. So in 18 months, we provided 2.5 gigawatts. So we can reach 6 or 8 gigawatts in short time. So the target for RES can be reached as long as all the other dimensions and parameters, financial readiness, etc., the market issues that we discussed since this morning will be positive. Okay, I'll come back to this. Let me give now the floor to Mr. Pazaitis and ask him. The DE plays an important role in the decentralized electricity production. How is this depicted in investments by the operator? I would like to thank you for the invitation. It is a fact that there are many challenges. The interpreter apologizes, but the speaker doesn't have his microphone on. We invest we try to invest in natural materials. We try to introduce new mechanisms. We increase the capacity of what we have. And at the same time, we invest in smart solutions so as to have the best picture of the introduction of RES. The introduction of storage systems. We invest in research, in new technologies. We try to meet the challenges. We work with the whole ecosystem to have better results. So we invest, we increase numbers, we hire people, we train them, and we give them whatever they need so that they can respond to their role. Thank you very much. Let us now give the floor to Mr. Margaris again and speak about the applications for connection on the grid. What about the annual number of applications or group applications? Where do we stand now? You spoke about the simplification of the procedures in order to accelerate the evaluation and assessment of the applications. I am asking you, do we need to ensure that the projects that commit electrical space are going to be implemented in the end? Do we need a safeguard there?
Indeed, and I think that this has been discussed. We have heard the opinions of various parties. Well, the criteria should be announced regarding the way in which the market has to have access to the grid. Obviously, both the regulator and the regulating authority and the government will have to decide about them. For example, in the countries in which access to the market is tendered. What we believe is that there should be ways in which to ensure that the space does not remain committed without any projects being realized for years. We should take measures in order to avoid any ineffective procedures, because what we're interested in is that all the components that ensure sufficiency for our system are there. On the one hand, we have to develop fast and a system, a network, and then give access to the market. On the other hand, we have to find a way and to decide in full knowledge and in full responsibility whether the country is self-sufficient or not. So we have to decide how much storage we will have for 20s and for 30s, because there's a very subtle balance in between, and how to plan new units. In 2020, as I said, we have had demands for approximately 4 gigawatt of RIS. Now we in this year we have much increased, that is, by 1 more gigawatt demands. So at the end of this 2-year period, we are going to have demands for approximately 8.5 gigawatts of RIS. So the first parameter, let's say, which is necessary is the reliability of the market, but also reliable transfer capabilities and transportation capabilities. We cannot have a fast-tracked investment framework, for example, fast-track for wind farms, and it's true, we need that, but we cannot but without a fast-track process for the licensing of these of the infrastructures that are required to create these projects. A fast track to issue, let's say, permissions to create wind farms is no use if we don't have another fast track to create infrastructures. As a country, we have not yet found a way in which to run the process of licensing and permits faster than it already is. The answer is to follow the same process for these projects as is followed all over the country for other projects, for all other projects. Use the same resources. So I think that this, in this respect, this conference here is a good step forward, because we hope that the market will help us to find a way to, a reliable way to move forward. Because this transition is a difficult transition, is a costly transition, and it's a risky transition. So the main prerequisite is the network, and therefore this prerequisite has to be fulfilled as soon as possible. A transfer line, which is absolutely necessary for an installation at any point in the country, is required. This for us is crucial. Regarding projects, I think that our company has already proven its expertise and capabilities, and also our interconnection capability. We have actually already been very active in the transportation and transfer network, but the decisive factor is licensing, permits issuance. We have seen today and we have heard today that the framework already for Megalopoli and Macedonia is being discussed. Let us use a fast-track model in order to channel investments fast in these areas in order to move as fast as possible. The same should go for or should be implemented for wind farms. We should publicly discuss all the projects at hand. These have to be discussed at all levels of local and central government, and decisions have to be made. The system has to be developed in order to avoid the non-synchronization, the asynchronous development, let's say, problem. What do you think about in what way do you think some of the obstacles can be taken away, especially the let's say judicial obstacles? Personally, I believe that we should be able, using our designs, to find evidence for these projects. Up to now, all studies were based on a heavily burdened system. All the remaining information that were contained in the folders and which were painstakingly gathered were useless. When a company has, whether a company has the appropriate balance between the stakeholders, whether the let's say plots and land where its installations lie or owned by it or not, etc., is of no use. But despite that, all this information has to be gathered and submitted, and this, of course, causes delays. Something also I would like to add very fast is that if a civil engineer gives a certificate, issues a certificate regarding the genuinity and originality of the information provided in a specific folder, is of course adequate for us. Naturally, sample checks can be performed by a commission, a specially established commission. And of course, any discrepancies will of course lead to the rejection of the bids of or the non-participation at the call for tenders. The remaining, however, the remaining candidates and the whole procedure will go forward much faster, without us needing to spend time and know-how in useless things, such as, for example, these enormously and extremely garnished folders. How do you think the operational organization of the DIE covers the direct response of the authority? Based on what Mr. Margaris said regarding the common challenges we all face, we act on two levels: the institutional level and statutory level, where we work together with all other stakeholders and with the authorities in order to simplify the whole thing. This is the difficult part. The other part is easy. We need to exploit technology. We need to exploit good practices from other countries in order to take out all the red tape, all the delays, and work in a fruitful and constructive way. Regarding other issues, I must say that we have reinforced our network development and grid development methods. We also used outsourcing, but we have reinforced these sectors in every region. In recent years, especially during the last 2 years, we have made bold steps forward. We have increased the evaluation and assessment methods. We have reduced our deadlines to 8 months, and we expect that they will be even further shortened. And from what we have already approved, I must say that we have already achieved this target. Our ultimate target is to import with safety and reliability. And it has already been mentioned, the total amount of renewable energy resources. Our part is 6%. The total is 9%, and the requests are constantly increasing. But we have issues which unfortunately are keeping us back from advancing. What can you tell us about the long-term design of the transfer system? This is a very important issue. It is a decisive issue, not only with respect to adequacy, but also with regard to individual issues such as, for example, storage. There are some basic assumptions concerning the way in which energy will be stored in batteries or in other storage facilities. Approximately 1.1 or 1.2 is the storage capability of batteries, but since we have not yet formulated the framework which is necessary for the investors to take decisions, and this of course might require a few months. We will actually we'll have to still examine storage as part of the system and of the grid. We do have technical issues, and to the degree that technical units are being withdrawn, not only in Greece but also in Europe, this will continue. However, if one has differentiated resources, one can have various options. So having a number of options available is very important. Because if you depend on only one option, then you face much higher risks as far as production is concerned. All this, therefore, can really open up new vistas and also enable the achievement of the targets we have already spoken about. In Greece, according to some of our assessments, it seems that there is potential for 7 to 8 megawatts up until 2050. which would allow, of course, renewable energy resources to be viable, sustainable. Until 2030, we could achieve 1 to 2 megawatts, especially of offshore produced energy. That is why we focus on offshore and are lobbying the state in order to be able to be awarded the design of the equipment used in offshore production, which could become, of course, part of an extensive transfer distribution network in future. This would allow us to altogether develop approximately up to 20%, whereas if each of the developers undertook to develop its own part, this would have taken much more time and would be much more difficult. So until 2030, we could have an important contribution from renewable energy resources, and especially learn a lot of things that would prove useful in future. Do you believe that certain projects have to be realized in order for us to learn things? Yes, pilot projects are a possibility. We do have in Greece big depths, which would allow us to use that technology also. Smaller depths are appropriate for the so-called floating platforms. Now, whether we need pilot or not, I think that I'm not competent to answer this question. I think that people from the ministry that are knowledgeable in environmental issues could be more competent. We are talking about an important amount of megawatts. We're talking about projects that could be realized near areas of the grid that require enhancement, but also about projects that require resources, funding, and a lot of time. I think that our positions have already been adopted by the market, and as I said before, what is crucial in the implementation of this project is licensing. If resources are available, then we can actually we should be able to proceed as fast as possible. I think that we have already discussed the capability of ADMIE to actually implement its projects, and whether there are other entities that would implement the projects faster. I think that this does not matter. What matters is for us to be honest as far as our targets and strategy is concerned. In the last year, we have gone above 400 million, which of course is a very important number. And which ensures that we are, let's say, accepted, looked up to by the market in general. Mr. Pazaitis, along the same terms, the entrance to the grid of RIS units, how would this influence the remaining investments planned by the DE? Naturally, our investments are influenced by the reliable and efficient introduction of such projects, because infrastructures are required. So investments in RIS do not stand alone. They are accompanied by a number of strategic projects that, in addition to the environment, regard smart, let's say, smart methods, high-tech technology, etc. And of course, in that respect, we introduce best practices not only in science but also in the procedure. And we work with excellent centers in this respect all over Europe in order to ensure the safe, effective and efficient penetration of RIS. And now we would like to invite Mr. Jimenez from Huawei, who will tell us a few things about PV and ESS paves the way for future renewable energy world. Mr. Jimenez, you have the floor.